Yo, Kpaceguy here, and welcome back to another episode of 7 Reasons Why. This is 7 reasons why you should add an external amplifier. Let's talk about it. Reason number 7 is going to be lower receiver cost. And what I mean by lower receiver cost is when you're going out and you're looking for an AV receiver, you're going through, you're looking at all the features, the specs, what it does versus the competitors, and then ultimately, how much does it cost? And when you're getting an external amplifier, what you're allowing yourself to do is look less into your receiver, because your extra amplification will do part of the job the receiver would normally have to do. So for example, you might be on the market for an AV receiver and you're looking at a 9.2 channel or 11.2 channel or 7.2 channel receiver. And what an external amplifier allows you to do is look for less channels in an AV receiver, because you're going to have your unbalanced outputs, your pre-outs for your external amplifier, and you can run that as two of your channels. That allows you to use two less channels of amplification from your receiver. So what that allows you to do is it lowers the cost visually. So whenever you go up in channels on your AVR, you end up going up in price as well. So as long as you keep your channels down, you can spend less money on your AV receiver, because you have an external amplifier that allows you to use two extra channels without having to run it from the receiver. So for example, if you have Dolby Atmos speakers, you have height channels. Let's say you're running a 7.2.4, okay? So 7 speakers on the ground level, 2 subwoofers, and then 4 Atmos speakers above head. So you want an 11.2 channel AVR because you want to be able to run all 11 of those channels, 7 down here and 4 up here. But you don't necessarily need to go look for 11.2 channel receiver when you have an external amplifier, because what you have now is those pre-outs that we just mentioned on the back of your AV receiver that allows you to run 2 extra channels from the pre-outs. And that could be your height channel, it could be your front 2 heights or your back heights, or you can run your front speakers off of your external amplifier, and then in the settings of your AVR, you can change to the height speakers to run 4 straight from the AVR. So that allows you to pick a lower model on your AV receiver, which also in return, lowers your cost for the AV receiver. That's reason number 7. Reason number 6 is going to have to be taking some load off of your receiver. So what I mean by load is, like we mentioned in reason number 7, you're taking off some of the amplification off the receiver and giving it to your external amplifier, which is much more able to run heavy duty speakers or give heavy duty power to them. So when you take off the load of the receiver, you're now allowing your receiver to breathe a little bit easier. You don't have to run all of your speakers on the receiver. You can let the receiver breathe, run some channels that are not as heavy, and then use your external amplifier to run 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 different channels. So for example, if you have your AVR receiver, you have an 11.2 channel receiver here. Let's do a 9.2 channel receiver with 11 channels of processing, which most receivers are nowadays. You have an external amplifier, you're allowing yourself to plug in your RCA inputs, or you can use balance outputs, whatever you need to, and you're going to connect your front speakers to your external amplifier and then run your lower channels like your surrounds or things that are not so heavy with power on your AV receiver. So now your AV receiver is able to breathe, doesn't have to stress about your big old towers you have up front. You can run the separate channels. You can get a 5-channel amp and run most of your channels on that, and then run your Atmos speakers on your AVR, and it takes a load off your receiver. It doesn't have to work so hard. You don't have to crank that volume up and really demand a lot out of it. Allow your external amplifier to do all the work, and it will take off the load of your AV receiver. So that's reason number 6. Reason number 5 is going to be receiver longevity. So, like I mentioned in the first 2 reasons, reason number 5 kind of goes with those as well. When I say longevity, to elongate your receiver's lifespan, when you take away some of those channels, like I said, when you're taking some of that demand off the receiver, you're extending the life of your receiver. Now, a lot of things that kill receivers is heat, overpowering speakers on it, you know, so most receivers don't have a lot of wattage, and a lot of speakers nowadays demand quite a bit, 200, some are 300 watts max they want, you know. And so when you take off those couple channels and throw it on to external receiver, you're adding a lot of life to your receiver. You're extending the life beyond what the manufacturer has rated for you. Maybe like a year of warranty, maybe 3 years warranty if you paid for it. But you're saving yourself the hassle and the risk of your receiver wearing down over time. Whenever you take some channels off of your receiver and use an external amplifier, you're producing way less heat from your AVR, and that's a lot of things that really break down receivers over time, is heat and constant use of heavy duty speakers, especially when you're running speakers at a lower impedance than 8 ohms. Most receivers nowadays can do 4 or 6, but it's still a high demand. It still requires a lot of heat, especially if you're using your AB class amplification. So when you get an extra receiver, or excuse me, an extra amplifier, you're adding some lifespan to your receiver. So that's going to have to be reason number 5. Reason number 4 is going to be ohms or impedance, however you see it. Same difference, does the same thing. Ohms or impedance. So my speakers are rated at 8 ohms, and that's usually the norm for tower speakers. And you may have some speakers around the room, side surrounds, back surrounds, maybe even some height channels that are lower impedance. And the lower impedance you go, the more power that speaker is going to draw from your system. And you really want an external amplifier, because I know that Pioneer can get down to 6 ohms. I think some can get down to 4. My Yamaha, I think, only goes down to 6 ohms, but some speakers require 4 ohms. And like I said, that's just asking for more power. If you look through spec sheets, you see 8 ohms, you see 100 watts at 8 ohms, 200 watts at 6 ohms, 250 watts at 4 ohms. So it's just telling you how much power that speaker can draw at that given impedance. And you really want to get an external amplifier when you're getting pretty low in impedances, because the amplifier is more tuned to handle those kinds of things than an AV receiver is, especially because the AV receiver isn't true with its wattage anyway. You may see a Denon, for example, be 150 watts per channel at 8 ohms, but that's 2 channels driven, and it may not even be 150 watts per channel. But when you get an external amplifier like Emotiva or Atlaw or the Monoprice Monolith, their rated wattage is its rated wattage. You're going to get that much power out of it every time. Every receivers, they fluctuate, so as you add more channels, you start losing power from each amplification that's inside of the receiver, and you start hearing it. You start hearing fatigue, you start hearing distortion, you start hearing it give out on you at higher volumes close to reference level. So whenever you have lower driven speakers like 4 ohms or 6 ohms, you're really asking a lot of your receiver, and your speakers are not going to be nice to it. You're not going to say, okay, I understand you can't power me, so I'm going to ask less. It's not going to work like that. You really want to power your speakers with clean, efficient power. Give them what they ask for. You don't want to underpower them. It's better to overpower than to underpower, but that's a whole nother video. So this is reason number 4. Reason number 3 is going to be extra channels. So in other reasons, I've mentioned that you have pre-outs on the back of your amplifier or your AV receiver, and you can run separate channels from that to your external amplifier. And that's really nice. So if you are stuck with a 9.2 channel receiver, or you really just like this 9 channel receiver that doesn't have all 11 channels to run a full Atmos setup or DTS-X, you need an external amplifier anyway to run those channels. Now, you have the option of running, if you have an 11.2 channel receiver, you can run all 7 speakers on floor level and all 4. But then you can have some wide speakers if you have the space. You can have some wide speakers, which what wide speakers do is fill in the gap between the front soundstage and the side surround. It fills in that gap, so it's more of a seamless transition between one speaker to another. And external amplification allows you to run that extra channel. So now you're running 13.2 plus the Atmos, you know? So external amplification allows you a little more configuration is what it does. It allows you to run a couple more channels. Most receivers, even some of the entry-level receivers, still have pre-out, maybe a 7.1 pre-out. If you want to run extra channels and use amplification in every receiver to do something else, you can. Also, being able to run different zones. If you have a family room that you have the home theater in, and then you have a kid's room or a game room upstairs, you can run zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3 off of external amplification. Just plug those RCA cables in, and you can have external amplification in another room through your AVR without using your AVR's amplification or without wasting other channels. whenever you configure your receiver, you might have a 7.1 channel in this room, and then in another room you want 2 extra speakers to run stereo in another room, but you have to take away 2 channels in your main listening room in order to run stereo in that opposing room. So having an external amplification allows you to run those 2 channels in another room without having to sacrifice channels in the main room. So that's reason number 3. Reason number 2 is sound quality. And I put this as number 2 for a reason. You'll see why when you hear number 1. But number 2 is sound quality, because when you're getting an external amplification, the most people who get one are really looking for sound quality. You're looking for sound quality. I know that a lot of name brands like Marantz, Denon, Yamaha, they sound good, but they all have their own color. You can usually tell what you're listening to because they all have that simpler sound. Pioneer is very warm, very vibrant. Marantz is very musical, you know? And so when you get an AV receiver, or excuse me, when you get an external amplification, you're not adding any extra color usually. Especially with Emotiva and Monolith from Amplifiers, you're not adding any color. It sounds like it's supposed to sound. And when I say color, that's what I mean with warmth, or coolness, or explosiveness, or delicacy. That's what we call color in the music industry. And when you add an external amplification, you're not adding or taking away any color that you already had. You're just simply adding better sound quality. And how do you add better sound quality with an external amplifier? It's that power, it's the efficiency. When you're driving your speakers with clean power, it tends to sound better. You tend to feel better. When you have a good meal in the morning, you tend to run better throughout the rest of the day. When you have that cup of coffee, you tend to make it through the day better than when you did not. So same thing for speakers. When you power it up and you feed it with good, clean power, it runs good and clean. That's going to be reason number 2. Reason number 1, and you guys probably guessed it, it's power. Power. Just simply power. Power is number 1. That's why I chose this number 1 and sound quality is number 2, because when people upgrade to an external amplification, they're looking at power. They're looking at, can I drive my front 2 channels or front 3 channels with power? Usually your front stage is the most powerful as far as wattage goes in the whole system. It's very important to have a really good power for your center channel, because that's where the majority of the sound comes from during a movie. It's dialogue, it's what's happening in front of you on the screen is coming out of that center channel, and then everything else is merely surround effects. You want to really power your left and right tower speakers or bookshelf speakers with good clean power, especially for music, especially with low notes, because bass asks for a lot of wattage. And you really want to power it with clean power. So getting an external amplifier really adds power to your soundstage. And when you add power to your soundstage, you're adding emphasis in the low notes, you're adding delicacy in the high notes, and tweeter comes alive, the vocals come alive, the separation between instruments and voice comes alive. You're really just unlocking your full potential with your sound system when you get an external amplifier. Like I said, AV receivers, they exaggerate on their wattage. When you see 150 watts per channel, 11 channels in the system, you're not getting 150. It's just not possible. Especially if you look on the back of your receiver, it tells you how much wattage it uses on when it's on, and then how much it uses when it's off. And if you add up 11 times 150 and then look at how much wattage it draws from the wall, it doesn't match up. How can you draw 500 watts from the wall and create 1100 watts of amplification? You can't do it. So receivers, they exaggerate. So it's very important to get an external amplifier to your system. Not only could you get more channels and you free up some space in your receiver and you add longevity to it, but because it sounds that much better. It's clean power. It sounds great. You power your power hungry speakers, your ohms. It's not a problem. So that's reason number 1, guys. Alright, that's gonna do it, guys. That was 7 reasons why to get an external amplifier. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe on it. Let me know what you guys think about this video. What do you guys think about external amplifiers? Are they necessary? What's a good brand for you? A lot of people like Emotiva. Monolith is taking the world by storm with theirs. So let me know in the comments if you like this video, what you guys think about external amplification. What are you currently running now, and are you looking for an external amplifier? If you have one already, what are you using? Let me know. Let's have a conversation about it, guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. There's fun things coming up this week, and it's been a great day. I hope you guys have a great day, and Kpaceguy out.